Hello, friends. Robert Bevan here, author of the Caverns Creatures series of comedy, fantasy novels, and short stories. With me is Sam West, and today is another Martial Monday. We are ankle deep in Paladin now, and we're going for the subclass, the Oath of Conquest today.
Indeed. These are for all of the paladins out there who saw the Spanish conquistadors and go, you know what? That seems like a great idea. So this is all about being a jerk, dousing the flame of hope, ruling with an iron fist, strength above all. This is a capital E evil paladin option. And it's great for that. Well, when I say it's great for that, I mean like conceptually. It's great for that. I don't think it has a particularly homogenous like identity. I don't know if it necessarily has one thing it does well, but I do like a lot of the little things that it does. And I don't know. I think if you're in the market for like a generic powerful paladin, why not Oath of Conquest? It's probably fine.
Yeah, and you say capital E evil, but it definitely lends itself toward that. But you don't have to play it like that. You could be just a badass.
True. If you opt to ignore the tenets, which the first one is,
Oh, yeah.
and I'll quote, douse the flame of hope, then yeah, you can definitely do this in a non-evil way.
If you're fighting evil people, you want to douse their flame of hope.
How about rule with an iron fist?
If they're really evil, irredeemable people.
Okay. Sure thing. I think it takes a little bit of reflavoring, but with a little bit of reflavor, Oath of Conquest is great for a lot of different options. So we can start with the Oath spells. Again, I think people sleep on the Oath spells as far as options that expand out what a paladin and what a lot of what subclasses are kind of bringing to the table that the class is missing. So the Oath spells that you get at third level, your first level options are command. And I really wish the spell ranks, call them spell ranks or circles. Cobalt Press is calling them circles. I'm a big fan of that. Anyway, so at third level, you get Armor of Agathis and Command. At 5th level, you get Hold Person Spiritual Weapon. At 9th level, you get Bestow Curse and Fear. At 13th level, you get Dominate Beast and Stone Skin. And at 70th level, you get Cloud Kill and Dominate Person. And kind of like the last one, we did Oath of Ancients last. I really dig 5 of the 6 options that I get for third to like the third through 9th level array of things here. As always, prepared spells. I'm pretty happy messing around and engaging with most of these as a frontline tank paladin. Like in particular, Armor of Agathis outside of Warlock is a little bit more interesting because you can be more selective with how much HP you want at a given moment. It doesn't take concentration, which means on paladins who intend to take hit, it's pretty solid. It works really well with Heavy Armor Master and stuff, so you can kind of like build towards it to take damage reduction that will then give you more Armor of Agathis wiggle room. I think it's a really interesting option to have here. Not necessarily the most powerful thing in the world, but pretty cool at least, right? Which of these stand out to you?
I like Armor of Agathis on here because it can combo with what's that thing you get later? Scornful Rebuke.
Yeah, that's true.
That's fun. I like almost all of these flavorfully for this character. Command, I'm not usually a big fan of that, but yeah, for this character,
you're a mean, rude dude. Obviously, right. You could give stern commands that people must obey.
Yeah, same with Hold Person. You've got a lot of effects here on the class that bring people speed to 0. This is flavorfully in line with that. Also, Hold Person is murder spell.
Oh yeah. Spiritual Weapon's also a murder spell. Spiritual Weapon on Paladins is like, oh no, I was already making 2 attacks, but I guess I'll make a 3rd. Like, sure, why not? I'll take it attacks with my charisma, so it's not as good as my greatsword, but I mean, why not? It takes a bonus action. Does it take concentration? You can stack these effects on top of yourself. Notably, you can't Divine Smite with your Spiritual Weapon. That's important to note because it's not a melee weapon. It's a spell attack roll. So, just keep that in mind. But still having a bonus action 2d8 repeatable attack is better than smiting most of the time. Yeah. Like, it's rare that I find a spell where I go, most of the time I'm not going to smite with this. And this is one of those instances.
Bestow Curse, I forgot what all that does. It
doesn't matter, it's bad.
Yeah.
That's number 6 where I'm like, oh well.
Fear, though. You know I love fear, and I love it more on Oath of Conquest Paladin because that's your game plan.
We did also we just talked about Sentinel as well. We're gonna have a lot of local references as far as like timeline goes, and I have found newfound respect for fear effects on melee characters because again, and commenters, please let me know if I'm wrong about this. I'll find out next time, like 2 weeks from now. I'll find out in the comments that I was wrong, and I'll adjust from there. But for fear effects, I believe, and again, I could be wrong, the internet might have lied to me, you can provoke the move to move away and then get an attack opportunity from them as they're running from you, as long as they're spending movement on their turn. So, like, as a melee character, you're only forgoing one attack to use the fear, and that's pretty sweet, assuming, like, you know, you count your attack opportunity as one of those attacks, which I'm a huge fan of. That's sweet.
Yeah, dominate beast, dominate person.
Dominate person's a
character. One Stone Skin, I'm not thrilled about.
Yeah. Same with Cloud Kill. I'm like, okay, sure.
Yeah,
Cloud Kill is
I mean,
lukewarm.
It's like you said, you get this as a automatic spell on you, so you know, I've got it, might as well use it.
I mean, so Dominate Person is one of the rare spells where it feels good as a 5th level spell at 17th level because the things you're dominating have 8th and 9th level spells, right? So like that is a kind of scalar effect half-casters need. So having something that powerful here, I think, is huge. Like, it's a really big boon to it to have a Saber die that is like, oh, yes, your lieutenant that's higher levels casting than me is now under my control, and I'm going to use their spells against you. Huge high-impact 5th level spell to have at top end. Cloud Kill is just like a mediocre area effect damage spell that gets blown away by
but wind. You know, if you are locking people in place and, you know, stabbing them with your sentinel and, you know, they can't move, and they're sitting there inside your Cloud Kill, choking to death.
Slowly breathing away from you.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
Yeah. Cloud Kill's kind of dookie, but it's okay.
All right. Well, so, yeah, I like most of these.
Yeah, I do too. I think this, and again, the ones that matter most are the 3rd through 9th level ones, because they're the ones that people are going to play with the most, obviously, and also because the upper tier problems are going to exist irregardless of what spells you get. You're still a half caster when people are getting 8th level spell slots. You're still a half caster when people are getting 9th level spell slots. So they're never going to necessarily be as exciting. 3rd level spell slots at 9th level doesn't feel amazing, but they're still going to feel like you're still seeing those be the bulk of what the full casters are using, and they're still pretty powerful at that tier. So that's where I'm like, okay, that's kind of where it levels off as far as how it feels to play a half caster. That's where I'm happiest to see there be good spells, and they're all interesting at least. Again, I don't know if Armor Vagath is necessarily powerful, but it is definitely an interesting build-around option to consider for this that I'm a huge fan of. We can go into the Channel Divinities next. So you get 2, as you always do, you get 1 per short rest. So this gives you Conquering Presence, so you can use the Channel Divinity as an action to force a creature of your choice that can see you within 30 feet of you to make a Wisdom save. On a failed save, it's frightened of you for a minute. The frightened creature can repeat the save at the end of each turns, and the effect on a success. So it's a Cause Sphere. It's a 30-foot range Cause Sphere. It's a short rest, 30-foot range Cause Sphere. That's about all there is to say about that. Again, it's cute that you can make the attack opportunity if that's how that works. Guided Strike is the other option you get, and this one's a lot more interesting. So this is, you can just decide to get +10 on your attack roll. Whenever you make an attack roll, you can use Channel Divinity to get a +10 bonus to it. You can make the choice after you see the roll before the DM says whether it hits. So if you're a Paladin, and you're like, oh, the big boss is like staggering, and I have a 3rd level smite just sitting here ready to finish it off, and you roll a 4, and you're like, I know a 14 hits. Cha-ching! Guided Strike connects it, and then you're good to go. It's really easy to have Guided Strike let your misses turn into hits, and I highly recommend using it whenever it's available, because you'll be a lot more efficient if you don't. If you go to a short rest and haven't used it, you probably should have Guided Strike on something you missed earlier. So just use it. It's good. Spend your Guided Strikes. It's definitely the thing you're using most out of these 2 Channel Divinities, I think.
I don't know if that's true. I think I would definitely use Guided Strike sometimes, but I could picture a lot of instances where I would use Conquering Presence.
Oh, I'm sorry. I missed a very important one, Conquering Presence. That definitely means you're right. It says you force each creature of your choice.
Yes.
I thought it said a creature of your choice. Very creature. Different words. Yeah, you're right. That's much closer to regular fear. That's really baller. 100% I was wrong.
Yeah, I like that quite a bit. Within 30 feet, so you run into a crowd.
They just kind of like scatter, right? That's pretty fun. It's a lower level-esque fear effect. That seems really, really good. I take it all back. That's sweet.
Okay.
I thought it was a thing. I thought it was just a cause fair. They just ran in and targeted something and it ran away. And I was like, yeah, whatever. No, that's just everything's running away from you. Of your choice. Like you can denote party members to not be feared. That's sweet.
Bob wins one.
Yeah. We take these small victories. You need them.
Yeah.
Aura of Conquest is our 7th level feature. So starting at 7th level, you constantly emanate a menacing aura while you're not incapacitated. It extends 10 feet in every direction, but not through total cover out from you. If a creature is frightened of you, its speed is reduced to 0 while in the aura, and if the creature takes psychic damage equal to half your paladin level if it starts its turn there. And the range is increased 30 feet to 80th level, which again technically happens eventually, but for the most of the game, it's gonna be a 10-foot radius. This is such a cool build around. This is such a cool, like, all right, you got Conquering Presence and Fear. That's it. But we've just already discussed how amazing Conquering Presence is. Now you got a 1-2 combo. You frighten everybody. They're all getting disadvantage attack rolls against you. They're not going to be moving away from you. They can't move closer to you. and they're just going to take a beating. And that's so cool. That's so sweet.
This feels like Darth Vader. You could conceivably, you could be standing 10 feet away from a guy and just stare at him, and he can't move.
And slowly
He'll die. Yeah. That's fun.
Agreed. I will say, outside of specifically fear and Channel Divinity's Concrete Presence, this does nothing at all. So that is a bummer, right? This having no text if something isn't frightened is a bit of an issue for it. Like, there's most of the time things aren't going to be afraid of you. Most of the time you're going to engage something and it's going to be like, I'm currently not frightened. Huzzah. This aura does nothing. It definitely, if you want this to have mileage, you need to invest in things that give you fear effects. I think there's a fear smite. If there is, it's suddenly a lot better on this specific character, because you can throw down a fear with a bonus action and you can lock something in place for a turn. It's going to take bonus damage. That bonus damage makes the smite a lot better than if it missed it. So, like, anything that can do fears alongside making attack rolls still are going to be very valuable on this kind of character.
Yeah. I was thinking if you, because I do like that it's just a passive effect, but yeah, you get fear, you get your Conquering Presence, use that once a short rest. Are there any like magic items that cause fear?
Certainly. There's a billion magic items though, so I definitely don't know off the top of my head.
All right. Anyway, potential for fun here.
Absolutely. Again, if you want a build around kind of feature, this is the best this option gives you. That's not entirely true. You can kind of build an Armor of Agathis. Those are both like loose directions to go to. This is kind of what I meant when I started this video. There's a lot of different directions this kind of subclass is pulling you towards. Like, you could go into the armor tanking stuff, reflecting damage. You could go more into the fear kind of stuff. You could kind of go into the I just make sure my attacks never miss kind of deal with Guided Strike. Like, there are directions that you can sort of play with going through an Oath of Conquest Paladin. 15th level gives a scornful rebuke, so starting at 15th level, those who dare strike you are physically punished for their audacity. When a creature hits you with an attack, they take psychic damage equal to your charisma modifier if you're not incapacitated. And this is just the Armor of Agathis thing that I just talked about. This is scales with, like you said earlier, the Armor of Agathis thing. Dealing 5 damage when you're hit is really cute. There will be a lot of small things that suddenly can't hit you or they die, and I love that. I love the idea of, like, if a giant pile of snakes goes on you, they'll all die before you will. That's really fun to me. I'm a big fan of any of the Thorn Mail, you're hurt, stop hitting yourself kind of stuff, and this is one of them. Now, maxing your charisma is definitely like the second or third stat you're maxing, but as a second or third stat you're maxing, it's pretty solid. This is a good reason to get ability score improvements.
Yeah, it's not earth-shattering, but like I said, build aroundable. You got this makes your Armor of Agathis a little bit more worth casting.
What I like about this design is it's short, and it still is telling you Paladins want to be taking the hits. This one's trying to make it not, you're not a protector. You're just really good at punishing people who do hit you, right? Like, you are a vengeful Lord of Evil. Incidentally, your clerics and your clerics and wizards and backline friends, your rogues and rangers, they're not taking hits. You're still kind of defending them, but you're defending them with malice because you want people to attack you, so you deal them more damage. So you're encouraged to take things like Compel Duel and all the regular stuff. You are encouraged to run into the middle of as many creatures as possible and draw fire so you can deal them back damage.
And it's also, it gives you the damned if you do, damned if you don't kind of thing. Like, you get up in somebody's face, they don't know whether they should run away and or try to, but and then get feared and not paralyzed, but their movement stopped and they start taking damage or if they should attack you and they're going to get punished for that. I think I'm a bigger fan than you of giving my enemies bad options.
Yeah,
but I am a fan of it.
I mean, a lot of the time you could just say they got no options. It's either I'm going to smite you into a crater or you're going to skip your turn, right? And that's a pretty good place to be. I also, again, I should mention, this says whenever a creature hits you with an attack. It doesn't specify spell. It doesn't specify melee. This qualifies for any attacks. So if you see a battery of skeleton archers and the necromancer says fire at will, and your will, you got a big old will written right on your chest with your name tag, and you just stand in the middle and take it all, those skeletons just start dropping. You take 2 arrows to kill them. 2 of their arrows to kill them. That's so cute. I love that.
Oh, you know what? I'm glad you brought that up, because then yeah, as you go up in levels, you have creatures that make multiple attacks, and that, it doesn't limit them to one attack per turn. So
they're taking 15 damage if they hit you 3 times.
Yeah.
It also, this is another note, this encourages you to have resistance somehow. Resistance, this is a way to make your hit points do damage, which makes tough better. It makes resistances better. It makes any kind of features that reduce your incoming damage better, which means the Heavy Armor Master build has a lot more legs here because you're reducing your damage taken by 3 and dealing damage because of it, and you have more of those hit points to deal more damage with because of it. It's because the armor back is really cute. Like, you got a whole little minigame, and what is 2 lines of text. This is a great feature. I love it. It ends with Invincible Conqueror, so at 20th level, you gain the ability to harness extraordinary martial prowess. As an action, you can magically become an Avatar of Conquest. Again, the following benefits for a minute. Hey, we just talked about this. You have a resistance to all damage now. Sweet. So now you're definitely leveraging that hit point pool, and things are definitely dying faster than they're killing you.
I think you're taking your armor off. You're just going into battle naked to make sure you get hit more often.
It also says when you take the attack on your turn, you can make an additional attack as part of that action. Because this option apparently needed more. Oh, wait, there's a third line of text here. You crit on 19s now. Sure, why not? Because what Paladins were really itching for was being able to crit better. Oh, man.
Those last 2 pair nicely, because if you're getting extra attacks, that's more opportunities to crit.
And when you crit, you sink a Divine Smite, and that crits too! Woo! This is like a really bonkers good capstone. Its only downside is taking an action to cast. It justifies that. This deserves an action to, or not an action to cast, action to use. Because this is like, you use this, and for an encounter, you become a demigod. Like, this is as close to Hercules status as you can get as far as you do everything a lot better. And it scales really well to everything Paladin's doing. It's a great capstone. If you can get here, it's definitely worth it.
20th level. That's but if you got to 15th level, you're not multi-classing. Go for the extra 5.
Yeah, I 100% agree. If you're not multi-classing like at 5th level or at 7th level, you're probably dipping out of this a lot earlier. Like, you're probably, I'm sorry, not dipping out of this, staying in it for the full duration, right? If you ever go more than 7 levels in a class with extra attack, you're probably sticking with that class for the rest of the game to get to its subclass features mainly. And these subclass features, specifically Scornful Rebuke and Invincible Conqueror, are kind of baller. So I'm a big fan of Oath of Conquest. I think you can do a lot of different things with it. I think that while there's 2 core builds here, which is the fear build and the damage reflector build, but there's also like the spiritual weapon multi-attack kind of thing going on. You can still have I make a barrage of attacks every turn, and I use guided strike, and I got a great sword. My objective is just to take the build that Divine Smite's the best because it gives you eventual crit range improvement. That's a build you can take with this too. It's really flexible. Only one of the options is kind of only one of the options is kind of dead. Like, I don't know. I think this is a really solid option. It's not even always dead. It's just
which one are you talking about? The Oath of Conquest?
Yeah.
See, I think you if you're going for a fear build, then you'll figure out how to make that work.
Sure. I think it definitely also says even on the damage reflector builds, you still want more than what is given ways to cause fears. So I think if you're taking this option, you kind of have to build into some account for Aura of Conquest, otherwise it's a little bit of a bummer. You don't have to. You can just say, I forgo a 7th level feature, and that's fine. I have that Conquering Presence every once in a while, which is neat. But I really do. I think it's worth looking into ways on base Paladin to find fears to make sure it's online a little bit more often. You might even say, like, hey, team, I have Aura of Conquest now. If you pick up Frighten effects, feared creatures are going to have a bad time when they're in range of me, so we can start to kind of like synergize other people's class abilities with this, and it's a really cool like team build around.
They can't just be
afraid.
It had to be frightened of you.
Bummer.
Yeah, I thought about that.
It's not that cool as a team ability.
No,
my bad. Good read, good catch.
But yeah, I definitely think this one is worth hanging out for the 20 levels. I think if you make it that far, you're going to have a really good time for the last few sessions.
Yeah, agree. There are also just a small, like, we're raving about it a lot. There are a lot of small little issues that happen with it. So Conquering Presence, taking an action is kind of like forgo a whole turn. It isn't usable in all situations, but it's still pretty solid. And because you have Guided Strike to weigh that out, it's pretty good. There are a lot of duds, like Cloud Kill, Dominate Beast, Stone Skin, Bestow Curse are the upper tier options that I'm like, oh, I don't really want this. Stone Skin, even like we talked about getting resistance. Stone Skin isn't a great way to get resistance because your concentration drops and then it's not resistance. So you only take so many hits before you roll a 1 and then it's over. So like, I don't love that. But the rest of what you get here, I think, is really solid stuff. Again, I'm going to come back to Aura Conquest, but it's overall pretty solid.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I think if you're taking this, you're going to figure out how to make Aura of Conquest work for you. Uh, um, I think you can at least.
I agree. I think you
Get
can.
creative. Yeah, I'm really impressed with this one.
It's pretty solid.
Yeah.
I like we're gonna compare grade wise these to the fighter options, and we're gonna be like, wow, fighter blows. Unlucky. I think this deserves a solid B. I think Aura of Conquest is the only thing holding it back from being an A, just because it's not always usable. But I will say I like this design more than if this were better. I don't think this needs to be better. I like having to work a little bit and have a little room to experiment myself and make my own builds and try and find little cute options to pair with these different effects. I think this is a subclass that I would want either attached to other things. Like I could see doing a whole fear-based character where you take 7 levels of this paladin, that you leave it. You don't care about the rest of it. You got the Aura of Conquest, that's what you wanted, and the rest of what you're doing is provoking fears as much as you can. I can also see building the I'm the spiky porcupine, and I need level 15 for that in this build, so I'm probably sticking out towards 20, and I'm finding other ways to make me reflect damage. That also sounds really sweet. There are going to be little holes because of the different directions it takes in you if you wanted to go all in on something, but it's definitely still admirable. You'll still find ways to make everything useful if you want to. It's great.
I think this one's an A for me, maybe an A minus. But there aren't many. I'm looking through here. There are not many levels where I'm not getting excited by some kind of new either spell or feature. There are a couple, but yeah, and this is one of the few that I'd be really excited to take all the way through 20 levels.
The 20 level feature is very enticing. Most of the Paladin ones are, though. Most of the Paladin, they did a pretty good job being like, got 20th level, you deserve something good.
Yeah, this one's cool.
Yeah, agreed.
All right. Well, that was Oath of Conquest. Thank you, Sam. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. Let us know what you think of this Paladin subclass down in the comments. Correct us if we got anything wrong, and whatever. Just
we definitely did. I just read so much text.
Yeah. Tell us about your day. I don't care. Just leave some comments.
Also that. Like, subscribe, all that stuff too. It helps the algorithm a ton. Yeah.
All right. And we'll see you next time. Bye-bye. Thank you for watching. If you found this helpful, informative, or entertaining, I'd really appreciate it if you hit the like button below. You needn't smash it. A gentle tap will suffice. If you want to see more videos like this, subscribe to the channel. And make sure you check out the links in the description, where you'll find my Caverns Creatures series of comedy fantasy novels, Sam's full review of the spell, and other fun things.